Well, good morning. It's January the 6th, 2020. I hope everybody had a beautiful Christmas and great New Year's. And got my first project in on the workbench here for 2020. And going to show you what we're going to be doing here. And let's open it up and see what we got. Well, we have ourselves a Junior Martin, and that's what we got on the workbench to take a look at today. And what's been happening, the customer dropped this off and wants some work done on it. And what he's got some pretty severe fret wear. Basically, I'm just taking a quick look here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's got it down 6 or 7 frets. He's got them wore, and they're severely wore. I'm going to be taking the camera off the tripod here, and I'm going to give you a close-up of the fret wear once I get the strings off it, so you can kind of see what we're facing here. So with that fret wear, of course, he's run into now buzzing on some of the strings, and the other issue he's running into is it's so bad, especially on the top. Well, the top 3 or 4, that when you push the string down, the string's going sharp because he's got half the fret gone. I took a look at this the other day, and I got a hold of him, and I let him know that this is past the point of re-leveling the frets. The only thing we can really do at this point in time is actually pull the frets and replace some of them. Like I say, I think I'm looking at probably replacing, I figure, 5 or 6. So if you're interested in that job, and obviously there's going to be a full setup involved in this as well. This is on a, like I say, a Martin Jr. guitar. Then you want to stay tuned and check out this video. The other thing that the customer has asked me to do, and you'll see me doing that, he wants me to keep the action as close as possible to the way it's set right now. He likes the action the way it is. I took a look at the action, and to me it's a little high. It's probably higher than the specs on the guitar, but you know, everybody's a little different. Some guys really like to feel the strings, and he's one of those customers that said, "I'd really like to be able to feel the strings in my hand, especially on bends." So I'm going to be checking the string height at the 12th fret, and when we put the guitar, you know, the frets in, and we go and we check the relief and all that kind of stuff, and we do the final setup, we're going to be putting that string height at that 12th fret right back to the way it is right now. So anyway, it's going to be a little bit of fun. So if you want to stay tuned and watch the action here in the guitar shop, well, stay tuned. Have a good one. Be back shortly. If you recall earlier in the video, I mentioned that the customer client had asked to have this setup done exactly when I'm all done. He wanted the string height and that kind of stuff exactly the same as when he's playing it now. He likes a little higher string action than normal I would like, but everybody's different. So one very important thing to do, that before I took these strings off, what I ended up doing was taking this guitar and taking a set of feeler gauges, checking what the height was with these feeler gauges on the 12th fret, from the top of the 12th fret to the bottom of the low E string, doing exactly the same thing for the high E. And you can do that by you can put several feeler gauges together of various thicknesses to get exactly the right thickness, and then add them up, and you've got the height involved. Then also you want to do the relief. Put the capo on the 1st fret, hold the string down right here, and do the same thing. Usually, you know, 1 feeler gauge will do it. In this case here, it turned out to be a 10/1000ths of an inch on the low E, and 8/1000ths of an inch on the high E. So the relief here seems to be okay. But like I say, the string height was a little high in this case, but that's the way the customer wants it. And the other thing that a lot of times with, especially in guitars, Usually we're talking in 64ths of an inch on these string heights instead of you know, the 1,000ths of an inch. So what I have is I have a nice little chart that I got off the internet here, and what that little chart does, it allows me to go in and look at the measured height in 1,000ths of an inch, and it gives me a conversion and converts it to 64ths of an inch. So at that point in time, as far as the height is concerned, not the relief, but the height off the 12th fret, this case here, I did the measurements and I did the conversion, and I wrote it on a card. So that way I've got the card with the customer's name on it that I'm going to leave with this guitar. And like I say, in this case here, on the low E string, the measurement was 84th 1,000ths of an inch, which is 6/64ths of an inch. And on the high E, it was 64 1,000ths of an inch, which is 4/64ths of an inch. So 6/64ths, 4/64ths. So a little, as I mentioned, a little on the high side, not real high, but if it was my guitar, I'd be setting that up a little lower. I'd probably get it down to, you know, between 4 and 5/64ths of an inch on my low E, and I'd probably go to around 3.5/64ths on my high E. But the most important thing here is to remember is that you're doing this job for the customer, and the customer's always right. So if the customer wants that setting when you return this guitar, if you don't make these measurements and put it on a piece of paper and keep it with this guitar, when you do your setup, you're going to forget. And now you got yourself a problem. How do you set it back exactly the way that the customer had it when you got the darn thing? So I'm just giving you this little hint that when you're doing a job like that, when a customer says, I like it the way it is, I always ask the customer. I say, do you want this thing when I set it up, do you want this put back to factory specs? Or do you want me to have it set up exactly the way you have it right now? And a lot of times I like it the way it is, and thus the reason it's important to do these measurements. Likewise, if the customer says, you know, it's too high, I don't like it at all, do what you think's best, at that point I'm going to go look up on the Martin site, and I'm going to go back and set this thing to factory default settings as you would get it from the factory, and then play the thing and see how it plays, and then maybe make some adjustments from there if I feel it's needed. But I did want to cover this with you before we went on with the video, just so you understand the process here. So anyways, stay tuned, over and out, see you soon. Hopefully you can see this okay. So there we go on the workbench. So I'm going to take you right into these frets and give you a good idea here. So if you take a look at the first fret, and you look at the second fret, and the third fret, and the fourth fret, and you get down to the fifth, just a little bit there, hardly noticeable on the sixth. But if you look at these first three frets here, especially those two, that is so deep, those wear marks from those strings, that on that second string, it's almost right down to the rosewood level, or right down to the fretboard level on this guitar. So there's, you know, in this case here, with frets worn that deep, there's absolutely no way you're going to be able to level and salvage those frets and get this thing playable again. So that's why in this case here, the guitar's in my shop, and we're going to pull those frets in the next video, and we're going to be putting some new frets in. So if you're interested in seeing how that's done, stay tuned. It's going to be a fun little video here. Over and out. If in fact I've got my guitar sitting like this, and I've got a capo on my first fret, and I'm holding down here, and I'm trying to check that neck relief, or anything to do with measurement here. If I have a setup like that, then there's a really good chance that possibly, you know, the weight of the guitar pushing down may influence this curve on this neck. So, however, I'm going to show you the way I set it up and the way I do it, so just so you clarify that. So just hold on just a minute and I'll be right back. When I'm doing my work and I'm checking my neck, you can see the position of where I've got the neck brace. Not way down at the end here, right up close to the guitar. So there's almost impossible for the weight of this guitar to have any impact at all on the curvature of that neck. But I just wanted to clarify that because some of you might not have noticed the way I had this set up. And I've ran into it before. Somebody go, oh, well, you shouldn't be doing it this way or that way. But I'm just letting you know, if you have this neck up high and the neck holder is up like that, yeah, this is not the best way to be checking the relief or height of strings on a guitar. When you got the neck brace down low, even like that, and you got the guitar sitting flat, right on the ground like this, straight out, I personally have no problem with this measuring the string height or the relief with a setup like this. So that's just to clarify it for anybody out there that's wondering. Okay? See you soon.